Hi, my name is Isa Valdez, and welcome to Evolve the podcast. Each week, I will give you tips and tricks on how you can start a business, make it successful, and keep it going. Listen to my journey as I become a self made entrepreneur at 36 and counting. Hi, welcome back to Evolve the podcast. Last week, you would have heard me talk about the steps that I would have made, how I was able to come up with the idea of a new business, or I should say, my first business. And given that I started that first business with $0 to my name, I'm going to walk you through how I started the process of creating a business in a male dominated field. It was just that, a male dominated field, and I began working the fingers to the bone on how I can not only enter the male dominated field, but enter it and conquer it, right? So I remember I had shared with someone that I wanted to do a radio station. I even shared, and I had $0 at the time. I had a business plan and that was it, right? And so I had shared with someone that I was going to do a radio station. And they said to me, "Oh my goodness, why would you want to do that? Did you not know that blank radio station is the Goliath in the industry?" And I was like, wow, you're right. They are. I said, and I am David, right? I see myself as David, and I'm going to use my small little um, pebbles to take out Goliath, right? And I still see myself as David. I still see uh, communications as a David, right? Because we lift up praise, we honor God. And so, in that, when we started, it was just that we were the Davids in the industry. We were just that, the Davids in the industry, and we're still here. You know, like I said, I still see us as a David, and we're still here, and we're still doing it. We're still conquering the things that we were supposed to. Anyways, so once I got the word to open up a radio station, I decided to ask even further. How am I supposed to? Taking into consideration, I had just gotten back from college. I got a degree in accounting and I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to do something else. I didn't want to, I should say I didn't want to. I did not see myself as a radio station owner, much less an entrepreneur, right? When I was in college. So I just, did the thing that everybody said I should do to gain, I guess, a footing in my career. And, you know, so I decided to ask him more, how do I open up a radio station? And he directed me to a lady. Now, all in all, still had no idea on what I was supposed to do. I had no thoughts about how this would even materialize. I had just gotten back from college. I was home working. In fact, I had just quit. I was managing a restaurant and it was very successful. When I had it, it was very successful. And that was one of the things that I remember most, the success of my hand, because I did it from my heart. So one of the things that I want to impress upon you is that when you do it from your heart, it's always successful. You will always get success when you put your all into it, all of your blood, all of your sweat, all of your tears. and most importantly, all of your passion. And so after I began the search on how to open a radio station, I began to write down this blueprint on exactly how it was supposed to operate. I saw who was supposed to be on the shifts. I saw what was supposed to be the shifts. Like I just saw everything and I just started getting, exactly just that. Play this at this hour, do this at this time. Make sure if you do the news, don't have all the gory details, don't have murders. Make sure you have a miracle story. It was it was always supposed to be to lift the people. It's a lifting, And so in that, at 36, I said, okay, I'm going to do it just the way I'm supposed to do it. And I went to see a lady and I asked her, who am I supposed to reach out to? Who does the things around here that you guys need? And they gave me a name and a phone contact, and I reached out to him. And he gave me two invoices. One that said, and there was no detail in it. One that said $175,000, and the other one said 20,000, right? Or 25,000. So the bottom line was $200,000. So he was going to make some money from off of this deal. I mean, I guess that's what all people do when they are entering business. When you enter business, it is the primary focus to make money, right? And so I think, me being as green as I was at the time, I didn't really understand what I was doing. And him giving me two invoices in itself that should have said to me, am I green or am I dumb? Right. So anyways, I prayed some more and I asked the, Lord to tell me what to do. Right. And so I then began to assemble some prayer warriors, right? In order for me to do this, I had to have some sort of arsenal in my chest. I had to have somebody telling me, thus saith the Lord. Like even all of the kings throughout history, if you open the Bible, if you open any history book, most leaders also always had some sort of conciliary, right? Someone to advise them. But I wanted my advisory to be tapped into the ultimate source. So I had some prayer warriors to begin to pray. Now that started late 2009. So when I got the call to do the radio station, it was in 2009. So for 2009 to 2010, when I went to the first NAB show, I just began formulating in my mind this blueprint. I started writing down the blueprint that I was given, right? And believer that you have to have a blueprint from which you need to begin. And when you have that blueprint, you have to establish a word over your business. Word over the business was this was going to be the number one and only gospel radio station in Grand Bahama. That was the word he established, right? And so I want to take this a step further. I went to New York some time back. I think it was in 2010. No, 2011. I was in New York. And yes, it was 2011. I was in New York and I went to see the Empire State Building. And for those who've ever been there, it's a tourist attraction, but they also have the way it's constructed, they have the blueprints, they have the plans, and most importantly, they established a word. They said that this was going to be the tallest building in New York, right? And they established that word, right? And for years and years and years, it was. And even after, the tragic events of 9/11, it still stood as the tallest building. So that is just one nugget to tell you when you start your business, establish a word over it. And that word will take it to and through the test of time. As I started to plan, as I started to figure out what was the next steps, um, and again, remember I said I assembled an arsenal of prayer warriors, right? And one of them was my godmother, and she had a friend, and her friend had a brother. And that brother established, I think it was Channel 5 News in Atlanta, Georgia, some, I don't know, 35, 40 years ago, something like that, maybe 50 years ago. And she was explaining to her that, oh my gosh, this young lady has gotten this vision to open a radio station. And he said to her, anybody who's in radio goes to the NAB show, right? And so I said to myself, wow, that's a NAB. So she called me up and she told me exactly what he said. She got him on the three-way. Remember, I was home, I had no money, and I was living under my mother's roof, and I had lints in my pocket. So this was February and March. So I started doing a research, right? We didn't have Google back then. We had Yahoo, I think it was Yahoo, and MSN, right? So I went and I started searching and I found the NAB show. And the NAB show happens every year, same time, April around Easter break. And it is in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I lived at the time in the Bahamas, right? How am I going to get somewhere? I have no money, no experience, no understanding, no knowledge. How am I going to get from Freeport, Bahamas, all the way to Las Vegas? How I was trying to figure out how is this going to even be possible? And I started to think, who can I call? Where can I go? I have no money. I had no money and I needed this thing to be done. It's crazy how things began to materialize and fall into place because I began to put a demand on this great thing that I wanted. I am a firm believer that you have to begin to put a demand on this thing, right? This business venture, that house that you want, the car that you want. It's not unattainable if you begin to put a demand on it, right? So, most people use vision boards. They put up their vision boards and they focus on one thing or multiple things at a time. And they say, these are the things that I want. And so that's somewhat of putting a demand on it, right? And then I decided I needed to get to Vegas. I had to get to Vegas. I didn't have a vision board then. Did I? I did. I had a vision board. I did. I had a vision board. But I didn't put the NAB show on my vision board. On my vision board at the time was a house. I had um, an office conference room scene, different pictures that I pulled out of the magazine, but I did have a vision board. I had a vision board for that. I did. But I had to go to Vegas, right? And so in my mind, I started figuring out what was going to be the cost to get into the show, what was going to be the cost to get hotel, what was going to be the cost for airline. And, in 2010, basic room rates were $350 a night. And that was it, especially during the time of conferences. I believe that, the prices go up. But I went through the website and they were offering, lower prices through the website. So I had to go through the website to book, right? And so in that, I then decided that I needed this amount of money. I think at the time I probably needed like maybe $3,000 to stay, airline, and to get in. I think the hotel at the time was like $1,000. round trip ticket from Freeport, Bahamas to Las Vegas was like $700. So I say I needed $3,000 to get into this conference because I needed to eat, I needed to get around, and let me tell you what I did. I fasted and I prayed. If you go to my Facebook page, I have an album that's labeled The Nab Show. And if you see me in those pictures, I was skinnier than skinny, right? That is when I went to Vegas. I got to Vegas. But if you tune in next week, I will tell you how I got to Vegas. Tune in next week for Evolve the Podcast. Hi, my name is Isa Valdez, and each week I will give you tips and tricks on how you can start a business, make it successful, and keep it going. Listen to my journey as I become a self-made entrepreneur at 36 and counting.